This is our presentation on bath salts by Liam and Natalie. So our first section is what are bath salts?
Now wait, before we, hold on, I just wanted to say so that all of our fellow classmates pay attention during this presentation, I've hidden a few small pageants during different slides throughout this presentation. So if you can count all of them and then tell me at the end, that means you're paying attention. Okay, so let's get started. Bath salts, what are they? So essentially bath salts has nothing to do with actual bath salt. You don't put it in a bath. It's not like Epsom salt. It's a drug or it's more of a class of drugs that contain synthetic cathinones, which is a subset of molecules. And those are all classified under a subcategory called new psychoactive substances. Bath salts are highly illegal in the United States, although interestingly they're not entirely in other places. We'll get into that in a second. But bath salts, because they're a category rather than a specific drug, there are a lot of different names because there are different kind of ways of making it that are laced with different drugs. So a few street names are Flocka, Bloom, Cloud9, Lunar Wave, Vanilla Sky, White Lightning, Scarface. And unlike saying like pot versus weed, which are the same thing, those are actually different forms of the drug because cathinones can be found in different types of drugs like Molly. Some strains are really, really strong, so the effects of these drugs are kind of like cocaine, but it can actually be up to 10 times stronger, and they can also have really strong hallucinogenic effects, like the drug Flocka is known for that, and like I said, they can be laced with different things, and different drugs can also be laced with cathinones. People typically swallow, snort, smoke, or inject synthetic cathinones to get high.
So where do bath salts come from?
So bath salts come from the cat plant, which is kind of weird. So I said that they're synthetic, meaning that they're derived from, chemically. But the original cathinone source is actually from this plant, the cat plant, which is, it's, usually grown, it's a shrub that's usually grown in East Africa and Southern Arabia. And a lot of the time people would bundle up the leaves, like you can see on the right, and they would chew on those as a snack because it has kind of mild stimulant effects, kind of like how we drink coffee or have a beer. So there's a lot of debate over how bad cat is because in some places it's cultural and it's not really nearly as strong. So for a lot of people, it's like I said, having a beer after work. And so a lot of immigrants from other countries will bring cat to, say places in Europe or the US, but it's banned here. And it's actually a lot less restrictive in most places in Europe, including the UK. You can have cat as long as you don't try and make it into synthetic cathinones. San Diego, actually, surprise, surprise, has one of the largest cat smuggling centers in the entire U.S. because of the really large Somali population, because this plant is really popular in Somalia. But again, like I said, it's not as dangerous in that form. It's much more dangerous in the synthetic crystalline form because it can be extremely strong and have really weird effects on your body.
So as Liam said, bath salts are highly illegal in the U.S., but about their creation, so bath salts were first created synthetically by chemists in the 1920s in Europe, but they didn't become used until the mid-2000s, starting in the UK and then to the US. So they're known as designer drugs, and they began to rise in popularity and also abuse. So this led to 23,000 visits to the emergency room in 2011, and President Obama signed a federal ban on different types of synthetic drugs, including bath salts, recently.
What are the effects of bath salts? Okay, so essentially, like a lot of hard drugs, these symptoms tend to be really similar to like cocaine or heroin, so if you're familiar with that, it's not too different. Like I said, though, one difference is that they have really strong hallucinogenic effects, and you've probably heard stories in the news of like Flocka being a strain of bath salts being really popular in Florida and like people eating each other and shit like that. Anyway, so cathinones, but like I said, the effects are similar to other drugs. So a lot of time cathinones are used to lace Molly, and people will have like higher heart rate, blood pressure. It can cause like heart attacks, nausea, sweating, nosebleeds, tremors, delusions, paranoia, panic attacks, anxiety, pretty much everything that you would imagine being associated with taking a drug like cocaine, or a really hardcore like Molly or something like that. Next is how bath salts affect the brain.
So now I'm going to talk about the molecular interactions that certain bath salts have in the body. So the main thing, like cocaine and other drugs that bath salts do, is they increase the amount of dopamine that's present in the synapses between neurons. And so this, for someone that doesn't take bath salts or drugs, the neurotransmitter dopamine is released in response to pleasure, like eating a piece of cake. But for people that take bath salts, there's an increased amount of dopamine in the synapse, and this is also true with cocaine and ecstasy, so it's kind of a similarity between both of them. So for some bath salts, because remember, it's a category of drugs, so not all drugs do the same thing, for some drugs, such as methadone, it's like ecstasy. So they cause the brain to release more and more dopamine, so you keep getting the same response. But in some bath salts, such as MDPV,
short for methylenodioxyprivalerone.
Yeah. They're like cocaine, so they block the reuptake of dopamine and release norepinephrine. So this increases the amount of pleasure response that you have. It's why people get addicted. But it also causes really bad effects, especially in your heart, like Liam talked about, all the symptoms and side effects. And the increased presence of these neurotransmitters, so like I said, for your heart, so it increases your heart rate, and the effects can be up to 10 times that as the experience of cocaine, which Liam already said. So specifically, these bath salts, they interact with channel proteins that mediate the transport of monoamine neurotransmitters like dopamine and norepinephrine. And so the drugs, there are two different types. They either bind to these transportation systems to block them or block reuptake, or to keep them open. So that's basically the chemical role of bath salts in the brain. And then treatment of bath salts. So there's not a lot of research done into this, and if it's still like working on it.
Bath salts are still really new, so that's why there's not a lot of treatment options. It's because it's only been an issue for the last half decade.
So basically, the notes that we have here are true for a lot of highly addictive, dangerous drugs. So intense medical monitoring to get abstinence, to get off these drugs, and you need medication from doctors from adverse side effects from withdrawal, and then usually patients need psychiatric treatment and help for mental illnesses, which are usually associated with addiction to bath salts and other drugs that are really dangerous.
Okay, so that is all we have on the upper right. Oh no, it's not playing. That's supposed to be a video of Mr. Paget's dog set to music that he, I think, edited himself. So you guys will have to look that up on your own, but just know that it's out there on the internet, and it has been for 9 years.
Yeah.
So, great. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.